Good evening. Welcome to your Monday night edition of Not Another Rangers podcast. On a weekend, we've had no football at all, so I wonder what we'll talk about. Will it be takeovers? Will it be new managers? Will it be what one of our worst players has got player of the year this year? Or so much more, or look forward to the games as it this weekend. So myself and Ricky right now. So Scott will be joining us when he hotfoots from one house to another house. He's on route back now. So at some point during this evening, he will pop back into the screen. But currently, just me and Ricky. Ricky, how are you? Happy Easter to you.
Yeah, no, great weekend, mate. Oh man, I was eating mint chocolate Aero Easter egg for breakfast. My diet was out the window this weekend, and I was driving in the car with Cyprus. So by the time I got to my hotel, there were absolute soup in the back of the car. So I had to put them back into the fridge. Took the wrapper off, and it was just a big chocolate mess. But it was delicious at breakfast time. And then I went down for the buffet as well. So I've stuffed my face this weekend. Had a great Easter. I hope everyone in the comments had a great Easter as well. No Rangers as well, which was a bit sad this weekend, but they'll be back this week. So all good, mate. All good. How's you?
Sorry, I'm all right. Still recovering. I'll start coughing again as soon as talking. No, it was very quiet Easter. My kids are at an age now when they're all adults and I'll be running about places. They don't bother getting me an Easter egg. They still expect their own, but they wouldn't get me one. So
you're no hiding eggs in the garden, boy eggs in the garden, and they've got to go. Your daughter's a bit old for that, is she?
Oh, my youngest one's 16, my oldest one's 22, so there's a few of them. So I'm getting them Easter eggs. There was very little Easter. The days of making hard-boiled eggs and rolling down hills and that stuff, I think it's long gone. I don't even know if still do that nowadays. I was trying to tell my daughter the weekend I won an Easter bonnet thing way back in school days, and she's like, "What are you talking about, an Easter bonnet parade?" I was like, that was 30 years ago. That was the sort of thing you got done when it was a...
Is that, mate? It was all fun, but now you can't even say the word.
The wee tiny chicks, all these wee things that seemed much more innocent than it does now when people just look at an iPad. Anyway, hopefully you're all looking at your iPad and you're watching us this evening, so welcome. In terms of what we'll talk about, I think we'll probably talk a little bit around takeovers, because there's no football, as Ricky says, no football, fortunately enough, nothing to get beat. No depressing results to talk about. We'll talk a little bit about takeovers, a little bit about new manager chat, because that seems to have ramped up over the weekend. There's also some stuff around Rangers Player of the Year, or non-Player of the Year, depends on how you want to look at that. And maybe a wee bit of a look ahead till we start to consider things about the post-split fixtures, who should play, who shouldn't play, where maybe some of the future holds for some of the players that we had. In terms of takeover, then, Ricky, do you know, I think now that the games against Bilbao finished at 10 o'clock last Thursday night, that's kind of been put back to the forefront now. I think people weren't worrying too much about takeover because they knew it was happening. But now that our season is done, now that nothing else to play for, the talk is all about when's the American investors going to be announced so we can then move into the new era.
Yeah, well, for me, there's never been I don't know why all these other Rangers fans, media think they need to comment and say that it's not a fake over. Don't worry, guys. Like any Rangers fans have been worried about the pish that comes out of Celtic fans' mouths. We'll find it entertaining, but suddenly it's back in the news as clickbait. And it's becoming clickbait in the newspapers where they're telling you these headlines that are absolutely nothing from what we didn't know before. My only wish with this takeover, we've all known for ages it was going to happen. It is going to happen. I think for most fans, the only thing we're worried about now is timing, because we know this Champions League qualifier is coming up and there's so much work to do to this team that we've seen this season that it's here he is. Here's the painter and decorator. It's how's it going, bud? This is Rangers podcast, not painter and decorator podcast.
I don't paint and decorate. Somebody was doing it for me, Ricky.
You just want supervisor? No, we're just speaking about. We're speaking about the takeover, mate. No, but for the takeover, it's about timing, Gary. We want it announced. We heard it was hopefully going to be announced at the end of April. So you would hope that it was going to be announced at the end of April, start of May. So that, I'm sure these guys are working in the background. There's going to be a sporting director announced it pretty much at the same time as the takeover. And then they'll move pretty fast to bring in the new manager, because they'll understand that there's a lot of work that has to be done and there's a lot of work that they'll want to do, because they'll want the first season to be to shine. You know, they've just got promoted today with Leeds United, so congratulations to the whole system for that, which is a great achievement for them. So for us, it's about getting it announced, getting starting to put the jigsaw pieces in place, and hopefully before this Champions League qualifier comes up, or at least the start of next season, we have a team that we're proud of, that we can think to ourselves, okay, we're going to be able to challenge. There's a lot of work that has to be done before that's the case, but it would be nice to be going into next season with real excitement, because that's not happened now for a few years. We've been pretty much going into the new season knowing that we're not strong enough and we've got it all to do. Celtic have to have a terrible season, and we have to have we just want to be challenging again. Like Barry Ferguson says, he's a fan like the rest of us. He just wants to see us challenging for cups, challenging for trophies. The League Cup the Scottish Cup semi-finals was on this weekend, and for us not to be involved in that is to be knocked out by Queen's Park. That should never be happening. So we don't want that to be happening in the future.
Yeah, no, definitely. So Scott, just before you arrived, I suppose the question was, now that Bilbao has put us out, the talk is all about the takeover, and we'll move on to things like the manager shortly. But I suppose in terms of the takeover, I see Paul going to put a message up here saying that there's a fans forum, Chief Exec's fans forum, if I remember rightly, sometime this week, and there's rumours that some things are going to be announced there. I think maybe people have been a little bit over optimistic. These forums are normally just a matter of getting in there, saying very little and getting back out, but there could be something coming there. You're on mute, Scott.
My mind's not with it. I've constantly applied to go to the forums and never ever get invited to keep.
I've been to one.
So maybe they don't want me there for some reason. Listen, I think you're right. I think they'll just tell us what we want to hear. I don't think they'll tell us anything we probably don't really know. Maybe bits and bobs, but no, they won't go into it much until the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, because until it's sealed, anything can happen between now and then. Listen, it's probably going to happen. There's probably a 95% chance it's going to happen just now, but until it's finalised, there's always that slim chance, you know what I mean? Something pops up. But listen, I know they said, no, like you mentioned April there, but I've heard May, so listen, you know yourself, when you're buying and selling houses, it can take 8 to 12 weeks, you know what I mean? Maybe longer, just depending on lawyers and parties and monies and stuff like that. So, and that's for that house. So if I see for a big business like Rangers and people buying it, there's all different stuff. You have to go through due diligence and all different things. So it can take a while. And I know they've been involved probably since maybe last year, but I just want to over the line, to be honest with you, because I think we need to start moving towards next season. And even when it does go over the line, I'm not expecting miracles, because it will take a while to get this thing, the ball rolling, as they say, because you need to get all the appointments right, and sometimes all these appointments will not happen, and they'll come in straight away and hit the ground running. They might not be the right choices first of all, so all we can do is just hope the takeover happens, then see where it leads us.
So until you see Andrew Kavanagh with a Rangers strip on his back, is that what it is? But, holding up the scarf and all that stuff?
Holding up his pen.
Right, fortunately, if there's a fan anyway, he did say that a few weeks ago. He was
There's
just
a pen there that I've been done digitally, so you don't need a pen to sign anything, you know.
What do you call that thing? What's the app? You just sign it digitally, and it's one of the ones you do.
DocuSign.
DocuSign, that's the one. So see, in terms in Scott, sticking with you then, how important do you think that it is done though before the end of May? Because obviously there's lots of things then happen. As Ricky talked about, Champions League qualifiers, new manager, new players, sporting director. Timing is everything. Ricky's talked a lot all season actually about how we let ourselves down by not being prepared for the start of the season, and that kind of set us a back foot.
Well, I don't know. I think the sporting director, like Paul says in the comments, has to be done. He has to come in first, because we need to get the recruitment in order. We need to see who's staying, who's not staying, because a few players are out of contract. There's a few players. I know Raskins we mentioned quite a lot recently. He's got 2 years left, so did they extend it by a year and keep him for another season and then see what he's got? If he doesn't want to extend his deal, will they try and sell him in the summer? We don't know. Same way, again, you don't know any offers will come in. So I think the sporting director's the first one to need a point to see where we go from there, because I think that's important. You don't want to appoint a manager and then bring in a sporting director. That doesn't work for me. You have to do the other way about. Get the sporting director in first and then get the manager and whoever else has come with them, whoever the manager may be. I know the bookies have got certain people leading the race, but know yourself, the bookies that can be smoke mirrors, or they may know something.
Yeah, and we'll have a big long discussion, no doubt, about the manager very shortly. And before we even joined the pod tonight, I've seen there was umpteen bits in the chat about some of the managers, so it's going to be a hot topic as we get into that. Ricky, so in terms of, I suppose what my question to you would be, how far along the line do you think they are with some of the things? So they've been here since October doing work. You've got Patrick Stewart's been there since January, arguably a stooge, or are they working on behalf of the 49ers? Obviously, got to do due diligence and stuff goes with it. How far do you think they are along the line in terms of sporting director, manager, deciding who's going to get new contracts, all the stuff that goes with it? Do you think it's literally until they press a button as soon as you actually take over?
I wouldn't. Contracts, no, but I would say about. I mean, how can they? Because the sporting director and the new manager. I mean, I think you're right what Kerr said there. The sporting director, if they do what they did at Leeds and they want to interview lots of candidates, the sporting director has to be sitting in the interviews, and the manager has to click with the sporting director. You've got to trust. We've never really trusted a sporting director that much. The manager with Rangers has always had too much power, for better or for worse. Probably the best relationship we ever had was actually Gerrard with, what's his name, the guy before... No, before him.
Mark Allen. No.
Mark Allen, yeah. Mark Allen and Gerrard, when they came in, they seemed to work quite well together, and they brought in some good players with contacts like Joe Aribo and Goldson, and they were bringing in players like that because this guy had good contacts. But since then, it's never really worked because we've always had, for me, the manager's always had too much power, and the sporting director's sort of been there in the background, but he's not been. That's not the way that it's supposed to work, you know. So I think that we'll have to announce the sporting director, and then he has to be involved in the full process of hiring and bringing in the manager. And I know that we're seeing all these names and odds in the bookies and stuff like that, but I wouldn't give that much. I think that they'll take their time because they'll want to get the appointment right, like they did with Leeds. I mean, Fark was brought in because he had the best championship record with the most points eventually, but they did interview lots of candidates before they gave him the job. So Gerrard is an obvious candidate, obviously, because he's a big name in America. He's a worldwide brand himself, as well as the manager of Rangers. So there is a huge appeal there and stuff like that. But what'll be interesting to see when they do come in. But I don't think they're just going to come in and everything is going to be. They'll see Rangers as a long term. They'll have short term goals, but it'll be long term goals as well. So they'll probably have everything planned. They're very analytical. So it's not going to be they're just going to come in and like, oh, Gerrard's the manager and there's 50 million and get us qualified for the Champions League. I just think that's in fans' head, but in reality, I don't think that'll be the case.
So, see, Stick and Paul's put a question up there. Would you guys like Davy Weir for sporting director? Now, Davy Weir's obviously an obvious choice in some ways. Been successful at Everton and at Brighton. Obviously, a Rangers fan. And to be fair to him, he has a lot of qualifications that are relevant. He's got a business degree. He's an intelligent guy. He's in football. You know, he's worked in America. And I think he'll put in a lot of those things together, hoping that he could be the guy. But do you think there's a potential of Davy Weir returning to Ibrox?
Gary, me as a fan, right? I romanticize things in my head, right? And I hope this makes sense what I'm going to say, right? So I, in my head, think Davy Weir, he's at Brighton, he's got all the access to all their amazing superpowers, and he's ex-Rangers man. He's going to come to Rangers and he's going to bring the Brighton superpowers to us. And Gerrard is the manager. Like, you have this idea in your head that everything's going to be perfect, but at the end of the day, we're just football supporters. These guys are supposed to be business experts, and they've got this Steinson, who's their director of football. So we can have opinions, and in my head, David Weir is on paper a great appointment. He knows the club, he knows Rangers, but on the other side is the cons is he's never ever been a sporting director. So how much contacts does he really have? Because nowadays, a sporting director has to have many contacts around the whole, and you don't want them to just have cliques where he has like certain contacts and he just signs the players from this agent, you know. He needs to have many contacts. So it is an interesting, and it's one that the fans are romanticising about. Davy Weir would be a good appointment and stuff like that, but it's very difficult if you actually think about it. It's very difficult to actually, would it work out as Davy Weir as sporting director? He's never done it before, and if it goes wrong, then there's a lot of things that fans will be able to fire at the 49ers right away. Why did you appoint this guy? He's inexperienced. Why? And that's going to happen anyway, but as a fan, it's very difficult to say if it would work.
There's a guy that I know, it's a Scottish guy that took a team from fourth bottom to fourth in the league now. As I look to the side in Nottingham Forest, was it a guy, Ross Wilson or something? I'm not sure what his credentials are, but he seems to have done quite well recently as a sporting director. I don't know. And I suppose that's the challenge in it, you know.
I think Davy Weir will be fine. I think he knows the football inside out. He's been assistant manager, he's been a player, he's been a scout, chief scout, whatever. I think he knows all the football, and I think he's got a lot of contacts. Majority of the time, agents contact you when you're at a football club, because if Rangers get takeover happens, some agents will know you have a bit of money to spend, and they'll have clients who'll push your way. You're not going to take everybody, as you know, but they'll be pushing people as manager, pushing people as strikers, defenders, all different sorts. Rangers have got a bit of money, they play in Europe, go there for a couple of seasons, then maybe move on, and that's what happens. When you don't get any money, you don't really get that. You get it for people who are maybe free, or people are looking for a club because maybe been released and stuff like that. But when you've got a bit of money to spend to push you, guy who they think I can go there for a season or two, make a bit of money, and then go to England, France, Germany, and take another step. So these things happen, but once Rangers get the takeover happens, teams will know we might have money to spend, and that's where money prices go up in players, and that's where you get players maybe want to come. Ham and Souness came in. I know English clubs were at a ban at that time. They couldn't really have a European ban at the time, so they couldn't go to Europe. But when Souness came in and they had a bit of money, he's pulled to bring in the English internationalists. Some of the other players down there seen that, and it was a pull to them as well. That, well, if Terry Butcher's going to Rangers and Chris Woods are going to Rangers, there must be something up there. So I want to take the pop, and it might happen this time as well, just depending who they bring in and who the manager is. But that's sometimes that happens. It just takes one or two big names or one or two players to come, and others want to go and see what's happening.
Yeah. So let's talk manager then. Before you actually give me names, let's not talk about the names necessarily yet. I suppose the type of manager, Ricky, that you want, right? So there's all sorts of different types of manager. If you look at your football manager, played that in the PC, you know, you've got tracksuit managers, you've got ones that wear the suits, you've got the ones that do all different things. For those that don't play the computer games, you've got the kind of somebody that's a proven winner, so somebody that's been successful at a time that doesn't know the Scottish game, so a la Mourinho. Somebody that's a brand name, as you said, potentially somebody like Gerrard, Benitez, somebody that's been big in a brand name. Somebody like the new up-and-coming managers, like your Russell Martins, guys like that are obviously done well in certain areas. And then you've got the pragmatic ones, the ones that are probably more like Daniel Farke, Sean Dyche, guys that have been successful in getting promotions as they have lots of times as today. So I suppose your type of manager, before we start to look at the actual individual persons, would be the one you'd like to see come to the club.
No, great question. Very good question. I like that question. So I think Scottish football is unique, right? And I think the manager has to be flexible and he has to respect the league. We have so many managers come in, foreign managers. We've just seen it with Comont. You've seen it with Paul McGlenn. You've seen it with Pedro Caixinha. And it's all right having these great ideas in your head that you can put on a flow chart and put on a board for the players. And we're going to play this way. Oh, we're Rangers. We don't need to respect our opponents and stuff like that. Then they go out, and we've seen it this season recently. We've seen it with you go to Dens Park, and it's their cup final, and they're swarming all over you within 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Your plan is completely out the window, and you're 2-0 down, you're 3-0 down, and Dundee could go 3-4-0 up against you. That was a possibility. And it's like basketball. Scottish football is completely unique. So we need a manager that knows British football, knows how to get a good defence, good spine of our team. We've not had a spine since 55 in our team. We need a proper spine, so they need to understand that the pace of the league, the pace of British football, what it's about, how difficult it is with the different seasons. So you can bring a player in that'll maybe love playing football in August to September when the pitches are green and it's nice, but then you go away to Inverness in January and it's like 30 mile per hour winds and the ball's flying all over the place. So you need people that know all about this stuff. And we always hope that if you bring in a foreign manager, I like Lampard. Lampard, I actually think would have been good for Rangers. And the other one for me that I would have loved to have seen at Rangers, and I don't care about the Celtic connection, is Davy Moyes. I think Davy Moyes is everything that I'm speaking about. He's doing it at Everton. He got a raw deal at Man United because it was impossible to follow Sir Alex Ferguson. So I know you said didn't mention names, but I'm on about that type of that understands the British game, can put together a British team with a sprinkle of foreign magic. It's the right foreign lads that come in from certain countries, because the players do adapt from certain countries a lot better in Scotland than from other countries and stuff like that. And so for me, that's the sort of, we cannot go down the Russell Martin. See these managers that just play one way, possession-based football. That will never, ever, it will never work at Rangers, because every single game is completely different. Every stadium you go to is completely different. And okay, if you build a great Rangers team, we should be able to blow these teams away. But it's not as easy as that. It's very, very difficult. You need a team that plays different at Ibrox, that can break down a low block. You've got to be able to break down a low block by playing the pace. Just now, our team is the most unsuited team for Scottish football you could imagine. Our fullbacks are pish, our goalkeeper chucks balls in the net, our defenders are weak, our midfield's weak as piss, we've got no number 10, our wingers are shite, and our striker is Dessers. So we need to get away from that. Any manager that gets away from that will do for me.
Don't mention words there, Ricky. That's say what you feel about them. Scott, I'll stick with you. Same question, really, though. But I'm just one other wee bit to expand upon it, and if you can remember the question. In terms of style of football, so when Ricky talked about Davy Moyes, now Davy Moyes has been successful his whole career. The challenge of Davy Moyes was we went to a club that attacked as opposed to a club that defends. How important is it you get the right manager as well, actually, particularly in Scottish League, that attacks as opposed to counter-attacks as they do in Europe?
To be honest with you, I think we just need something Gary can get. It can be consistent, it can get us challenging. I don't think a brand of football matters at this moment in time. I think they have to come in and get a settled team and start to challenge. At least come January, February time, we're still in the hunt for the league. Do you know what I mean? We're still maybe only a point behind or a point in front, whereas in the last few seasons, the league's been finished come before Christmas. That's the way it's been. Do you know what I mean? We just need to get the club on a stable footing and get challenging again. I mean, I know we do well in Europe to a point, but domestically we've been poor. We've been very poor for years. It's past the point it's beyond the joke. But as manager-wise, you're either going to go down two routes, and they're going to try and get a name, like that's why Gerrard's been linked, or get somebody experienced, and that's why Mourinho. But Mourinho's no chance. He's on £10 million a year at Fenerbahce. If you give Jose that to come here, you're not going to have anything left to buy any players. And if you're giving him that, then the players are going to think, well, he's getting $20 grand a week, whatever. I want fucking some of that. So that's a dream. A lot of folk don't like Josie. I think you're right. I like him. I've always liked him as a manager, even when he first came through at Porto and then he went to Chelsea. I thought he was outstanding. Yeah, he's got on an age, and some people say football's passed him by, and it probably has to a point, but I think there's still some fire in there. I could get a club at Rangers challenging again. He done it with Roma. He won the European trophy and they've not won one for a long time when he was there. So, but I think we have to go down a young manager route. I think we have to look at somebody who it's not going to break the bank, because this takeover is not going to mean we're rich. It just means the club's, like I said earlier, on a stable footing. So maybe a younger manager, but British. Doesn't have to be British, but knows the British game, like Ricky says. I mean, I mentioned to you last night, Liam Rasin at Strasbourg. I know he's at Hull City, but he's a young up-and-coming manager. He plays good football, and he can play offensively, he can play defensively. I mean, Hull City were good to watch, but they lost a lot of games. But he's doing really well with Strasbourg in France, and you know yourself up against PSG, who've got a lot of money and they always win the league there. So somebody like that, I'm not saying for him, I'm not saying him, but somebody like that kind of way for me, because I think somebody like Frank Lampard, I think he missed the boat. I think soonest recommended him, and obviously went to come on. But at the time when he came in, Lampard, he was coming off a poor Chelsea. He was coming out a poor run at Chelsea, wasn't he? And then he failed at Everton. So a lot of people didn't really want him. But he's went to Coventry and turned them upside down in space of the bed, and they're challenging for the playoffs, and they went there, they were close to the bottom of the league. So just somebody that can get the club moving in the right direction, Gary. That's I'm looking for Murray, because I just want to be challenging and see the club going forward. I'm not expecting to be winning trebles next season or whatever, but I'm expecting us to be doing far better domestically than we are just now.
Ricky, you had the mute button off earlier on, so I thought you were wanting to come in.
You said no names, and he went right to names, man. That's that's two red cards. He was late. He was late. Then he was on mute, and now he's not listening to the questions, man. Come on. So transfer him.
Names at all, Ricky?
Transfer him to a Tuesday night.
That's the Davy and Ross show. That's their night. Davy and Ross, that's their night.
So I'm just going to stick just to this question Alexander's put up. So do you think we can win the league, even with our takeovers, the team needs breaking up? I think I said in Friday night's one, I don't think it takes that much. We have beaten Celtic twice, about consistency, etc.
Yeah, Gary, 100%. I mean, this you hit the nail on the head on Friday when you said there's a ceiling in Scotland. I mean, Celtic have spent, if you look at the players and that they've spent money on this season, their fans are not happy. They spent an absolute fortune on that Engels. They spent an absolute fortune on that striker, that Republic of Ireland striker, Ida. And the fans are not happy with the money they spent on these players. So if we can get our shit together and get a decent appointment in and give them, I mean, it's all about the structure. It's not fans. I mean, to be honest, we just want to be challenging again. Let's not run before we can walk. Let's walk first. Let's realise the rebuild that we need. We need a freshness, and it's not about. Okay, it would be the dream would be that one season we managed to be challenging, turn it round, and we managed to win the title the first season. That would be the absolute dream. But for us, we're so far behind. The league has been over almost since September. After, I mean, the season started and the league was over. We were losing games. The players that were signed, we knew were not good enough to challenge. And there's even question marks about the players that we're going to speak about later that we're going to keep. Even the players that we're going to keep, there's still question marks about. I mean, Diamandi's outstanding in Europe, but can he do it in Scotland? Can he be in a team in Scotland that can challenge for the title? I'm always set, and I'll say it, when the new manager comes in, he doesn't need to sign players that are better than what Rangers have. He needs to sign players that are good enough to get in Celtic's team. That's what we need, because just now we don't have that many. So that's the challenge for the new manager, and that's painful for us to say, but that's the reality. You've got to face the reality of your situation before you improve it. You can pretend that, okay, we've beat them twice in meaningless games, so suddenly we don't need that much work and stuff like that, but that's just false dawns. We need an absolute baseball bat taken to this squad, and that's always been the case. So it will be interesting to see what's going to happen once these guys do get their feet under the table. Who it's going to be? I mean, I'm sure we're going to speak about Steven Gerrard soon, because that
leads us nicely, Ricky. Let's go into Gerrard then. So there's been lots of talk, Ricky. But I mean, 8-13 favourite. I think he was. There's been a real clamour for him. But it's also been very contentious. So we've got one side of the camp saying he won 55 and he's a big name. The other side of the camp saying he won one trophy out of 9 and he's failed as a manager ever since he left Rangers. Why he went back? So there's a lot of debate around it as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of fair debate. I mean, people can be bitter because he left, the circumstances that he left, with the comments he made against Hibs, or I can't remember who it was against, and then 2 minutes later he was down the road at Villa and he just sort of disappeared. So I can understand that fans are a bit upset, but I mean, I think we can get over that. The thing is, for me, right, if you look at the pros, I'm not bothered about Gerrard's managerial record when he left Rangers, because, like, let's not kid ourselves, the step up when you go to the Premier League with Aston Villa, is absolutely huge. Unai Emery is a top manager. Gerrard is not a top manager. Can we afford a top? You're speaking about the top 10 to 20 managers in Europe. I think in the coefficient we're the 24th best team in Europe, 25. So, like, if you look at the top managers in Europe, how high can we get? And Unai Emery is in that top 10 of managers in Europe, so he's done a great job at Villa. But if you look at Gerrard, it's very similar to when he came in the last time. Probably, arguably, he had better players when he came in the last time. He had Morelos, who was on fire at that time, and he had there was good players in the building, and he added great players to that for us with Goldson and Aribo and Ryan Kent, and he sprinkled some magic on that squad and he was, like we're speaking about, it's exactly what we need now. He brought in your Scott Arfields and he brought in British players and managed to get a dressing room that was fighting for each other with good characters that had that unity. So for me, I don't really get why fans. I'm surprised with the amount of hate. Like, people are so passionate against it, what surprises me. So for me, I would say 60-40. Like, if you look at the names on the list, Gerrard would be one that excites me. Kevin Muscat with the right backroom team would be one that excites me. There's a lot on that list. No, but I know we'll get that. But I'm just saying there's a lot of names on that list that do not excite me. And I'm surprised with how much passion there's fans against Gerrard. Like, it's like he is... Like, they have it in their head that he's like the worst manager ever, and it's just going to be a disaster if he comes back. And I just don't see that, because when people go on about 1 and 9 trophies and everything, but the club was an absolute mess when he came in, and he did have us on the right path to be the dominant team in Scotland. If he stayed, we would have beat that Celtic team 100%. We would have won the league when Ange came in, because they were all over the place, and it was only because Van Bronckhorst, absolutely, the team bottled it, and how we lost that league title 56 was absolute crazy. I mean, you should write a book about that. But Gerrard would have won that title if he'd stayed on, absolutely no doubt about it, because we were ahead, we were playing well, we were winning matches. Okay, the Malmo was a complete disaster. That was on the club and him. There's no getting away from that. He did have bad results again in the cups and stuff like that. There's no getting away from that. But for me, I wouldn't be against Gerrard. When I see the names on that list, I see a lot of positives with bringing them back.
And I think that's it. I mean, for me, I don't have a major opinion either way about Gerrard. I'm struggling to say that I'm against it or for it. If it happens, I'll get behind him. And you can make the valid argument that he won one trophy at 9. He failed against Malmo, which cost us probably the chance to build that we were at. And a whole host of other things, but he also has a stature, he has a leadership quality, and he has certain things that go for it. Rangers need a figurehead type manager often, so I think there are the pros and cons. And as you say, looking at the betting list, which is pretty crazy at times, there's not a lot of Rangers, the suit on proper Rangers managers, if that makes any sense. Scott, Gerrard, we've talked in the group chat various occasions about Gerrard. Your thoughts on him being the hot favourite for returning to Rangers?
Listen, wouldn't be my first choice, but if he came back, if going by the rumours and going by the bookies and everything else, he is favourite by all accounts. But like you say, you never know, it could be a right at the left field. A manager gets appointed, we don't know anything about him. But if he comes back, I just hope he's learned from his mistakes he's made in the past, as in football-wise. I'm not talking about personal-wise, I'm talking about football-wise, as in mistakes he made before we are, mistakes he made at Villa, mistakes he made when he was over in Saudi. Listen, I think Gerrard knows football inside out, but it's totally difficult. It's totally different to do it as a manager. Lampard, like we mentioned earlier, he's at a few clubs. Like Coventry, he's doing really well with, but Everton, he struggled. Chelsea, he done okay at a point, but he struggled. Derby, he done really well. So I think sometimes you have to give somebody a chance. If he comes back, I'll back him. Doesn't matter who gets it, I'll back him, because that's what you want. Like I say to you back a manager until you get beat with Celtic, then you're on their back, aren't you? But I don't know. I think there'll be a long, hard look at it, and I think I wouldn't take all these names in that list for granted. I mean, people are saying we need a quality manager, but Ange won everything up here, and he's struggling with Spurs. Listen, he could win the Europa League, but he's struggling with Spurs, and I know a few Spurs fans, and they don't really care if he's here next season or not, to be honest with you, because they think he's quite arrogant, and he's only got kind of one style, he can't really change it. So I don't know, Gary. I think they're going to have to make. I just hope the choice he makes the correct choice. Because, like I said, I know you can't keep managers when they're doing bad. Like, come on, like Gio, like Bill. But I don't want to keep sacking managers either. Because I think we've sacked a fair share of managers over the last 5 or so seasons. So I think that's what appointment has to be. Every appointment's a gamble, to be fair. But I'm hoping this appointment's kind of 80% spot on till we can move forward.
It's just a controversial question, Scott. Just because you said the name of Gio, and Gio was obviously on last week. So who was the more successful of the two managers? Gio won a Scottish Cup and took to the European final in his 1 year in charge, or Gerrard won the league title in 9 attempts, 9 trophy attempts in 3 years?
I don't know. You probably say getting to a European final, but that was basically Gerrard's team, wasn't it? So do you know that way you can see a bit of managers leaving, and I mean, Di Matteo won the Champions League with Chelsea, but he got sacked not long after that, didn't he? Because he was hopeless as a manager. I don't know, Gary.
I know. I suppose I'm just playing devil's advocate because you mentioned Gio's name.
Gio was last right enough, wasn't he? With my doors to say that they considered it. He said at Champions Life moved on, and I salute him for that. I just feel Gerrard coming back, he's got his plus, it's got his minuses. I think he's an easy name to bring out for us because people said he still got work to do here. He can come back and be a success again, but then you've got other kind of support that are saying, well, you only won 1 out of 9, it was a COVID season, blah, blah, blah. So there's either side of that line. I don't know where I'm going to sit, but like I said, whoever gets it, I'll support them. And if Gerrard gets it, I'll back him as well because when he first got it, we were in a shit state, and he did help us kind of build when he first came through the door, but it will be difficult whoever gets it.
So, last question on Gerrard, Rick, before we move on. I suppose my question is, if we're entering a new era with a takeover, new investors, new owners, new sport director, new players, why go back to the past?
Because it worked before, it's worked, and he, like you said, he's got status about him. To be a Rangers manager, it takes a certain character, a certain man. You need huge balls, you need big balls of steel. You've got to grab the club by the scruff of the neck, and that's what he did. He's probably going to go into the training ground and be amazed at how backward it's went since he was here. He came in, it was the dog and duck. He turned us back to Glasgow Rangers. He won the title. He's going to come in. He doesn't care about anything. He comes in, he grabs the club by the scruff of the neck, and that's what we need. That is what we need in front of us. So for me, I know what you're saying about going back and stuff like that, but the guy's a proven winner. He'll get the fans on side. He talks a good game as well. He's got all the patter. He's media trained. He's got the statements. He's got the look. He loves the club as well. So we will see. We will see how things go and if he is going to be that appointment. But he definitely ticks a lot of the boxes that these new owners will want to tick. So it's going to be a very interesting few months, that's for sure. See if it was the old owners, Gary, no chance. See if nothing was changing, it would be an absolute waste of time bringing Gerrard back. If you were going to say to Gerrard, go against Celtic with a third of the budget that they've got or half the budget that they've got, where your wage bill's 40 million, absolutely forget about it. The only chance and the only positive for me bringing Gerrard back is he's got that kitty to spend, and his backroom staff will be completely interesting if he does come back, because who's apparently like half of them have fallen out, and nobody knows what McAllister's doing. He's on a beach somewhere. It's going to be a documentary in itself. I'm choosing the backroom staff, to be honest.
Can we bring back Michael Beale's fake account rather than his real one? And nobody knows him.
That would be quite. That would be funny, man. He's on Twitter. It's all me again. I'm the brains behind Stevie G.
Nicholas, good to see you back in the chat there. I've not seen you for a few weeks there, so and good to see you mention Rasin as well for that. So we could talk about lots of managers. We've talked a wee bit about Russell Martin and some of the other ones, and Jose Mourinho. I kind of want to talk a wee bit about the next 5 games. Well, 2 things. One, the player of the year and young player of the year and non-player of the year. Probably the next 5 games and where we go for it, because I think there's. I suppose I was thinking earlier on, Lawrence, Ball. I suppose my question to you, Scott, right? Should Lawrence, Balogun, and Hadji never play again for Rangers and instead play in Sayala, Cortez, and whoever else came over, Curtis, for example?
I like to see that, to be honest with you, Gary. I think we should play the players that are going to be here next season, or potentially be here next season. I don't think there's any point in playing guys who are at the end of their contract are leaving. I think what you're going to get from, I know the league's finished, but I'd rather see Curtis get minutes under his belt to help him for the next season. Rice is the same. Couple of other young guys coming in. I think we should, Barry Ferguson hopefully makes these games before he leaves. Just play the guys who he thinks are going to be here next season. Give them some more minutes under their belt, some more experience, and see where they go with that. And anybody that's probably fit and try to sell, if they need minutes to put himself in the shop window, might do that as well. But I think we'll see Lawrence. I think Lawrence is, by all accounts, he's already. I don't know if it's Wrexham interested in him, aren't they? But I don't know where he's going. But he is Welsh, and I think he comes from that area. And by all accounts, Wrexham are going to go up to the Championship anyway, so it's not a very really good move for Tom Warren. But other ones, I think, if they're coming to the end of their career, just let them go. Just say, right, it's coming to the end of start of May. See you later. I know you don't leave to June, but just unpack your locker and we'll see you whenever. But I like to see young guys playing, Gary. You want to win the games, don't you? I know we are going to finish second, but you like to win the games anyway and take it for there. But I like to see a lot of young players getting game time just to see how people say there's no any pressure on them, but there's always pressure on young players. You want to impress, you want to improve, but it'd be good to see, especially Curtis. I think Curtis has always done well when he's been given minutes. Rice is the same. So give him more of that, and it gives him, like I said, it gives him more experience. 5 games, I know it's only 5 games, but it's 5 games more than they would have had if some of these players were going to get played. So I'm just hoping Barry goes that way and doesn't stick to the tried and tested like Ricky's mate, Dessers.
So
I've got a team. I'm going
to come back to you. I've got to answer another question first.
No way, man. No way. No. I've got a team. I've got a team, man. Hold that question. I've got a team. Right, this is the team for the rest of the season. Kelly, Tav, Suter, Enciala, Yilmaz. If he's fit, I don't want to see Yefte ever again. Raskin, Diamande, and Rice. I want to see Rice box to box. Raskin in the 6 and Rice, because I think Rice is brilliant at getting on the edge of the box. So try that until the end of the season. Cherny, Igaman, and Curtis, because Curtis against Aberdeen deserved to be the one that gets minutes for the rest of the season, because Cortez was shocking, Danilo was shocking. They guys don't deserve minutes. So that's my team for the rest of the season, if they stay fit.
If they stay fit, it's a good. Always end every sentence with if they stay fit. So that probably does bring up another question that I was going to pick up there, because do you think that now that the season's over, in a sense, that Kelly will stay in goals or Butland will return to the first 11?
No, Kelly will stay in goals until the end of the season, because he's not done anything wrong. Okay, we can maybe say for the free kick at the sheep pen, he was a little bit slow, but I mean, you can't kick the guy out of the team for that. It was like a positional thing that was like 2 seconds, and I thought his kicking was a little bit nervous over in Spain, but you've got to give the guy a break. He's playing in that atmosphere. It's not. We think this is easy, man. You're going over there. It's complete madness in the stadium. The fans were going absolutely bananas. His kicking was a little bit, but I think he will definitely stay in the team until the end of the season. But he cannot be Kelly. If we want to be serious title challengers, Kelly cannot be Rangers #1 for the start of next season. And Butland, listen, I don't know. It's a hard one now that you think about it, because it's like you've got to give him maybe a chance to see now that he's been dropped if he can get that sort of form back. But we can't trust Butland going into next season. You can't. It's every match he's thrown. You're 1-0 down with him. I've never seen a goalkeeper as bad as him in my lifetime supporting Rangers, where just how many mistakes he was making. It's not just like one. Ali Maxwell was dodgy, like he would drop a cross or something like that. But I've never seen a goalkeeper go game to game to game to game, 1-0 down, 1-0 down, 1-0 down, 1-0 down, 1-0 down. It was crazy to see, to be honest. And so for next season, we definitely need a new #1.
I think that's my question. I suppose if Butland is our #1 keeper, should we? But nothing against Kelly, because Kelly's obviously a good backup. I think he is a good backup. But if Butland's #1 keeper, should have been come back to the team. I suppose that's the contentious stuff. I suppose sticking with you, Ricky, the other question I was going to ask then. So pick up what Scott said was that he'd like to see Barry do this, that, next thing, and bringing some younger players. How do you see Barry Ferguson approaching? Do you think his focus will be just on winning the game, or will it be on?
Yes, it's exactly that. It's going to be winning. His Dessers is going to play. He's tattooed on the team sheet under Ferguson, man. My pain has to last 5 more games of watching Dessers see a sandbag instead of a football in his head when he's trying to control the ball. So there's no way Ferguson is going to be that kind to us and drop Dessers for the next 5 matches. He should. Egerman should be playing as number 9. I mean, it's madness what we've done to that kid since Christmas. It's crazy, absolute crazy that he's not been playing as a striker. But that's the decisions that have been made. Dessers somehow has been playing every single match, and you reap what you sow. Ferguson trusted Dessers, and he's part of the reason that he'll never be considered full-time for the manager's job. Not just Dessers. There's many other players that have let him down badly as well that we can speak about. But that's the reason that if you trust players like that and you nail your peg to the wall with players like Dessers and they let you down, then you can't really complain. So I don't see the changes that we're speaking about. That's what we want as fans, but it's never going to happen. He's going to try and win matches to match with the players that he has in his head that are the players for Ferguson. And all managers are like that. You know that, Gary. I mean, Walter Smith used to have a soft spot for Neil Murray. And if you ask any Rangers fan what Neil Murray did as a player, not one Rangers fan can tell you, man, what he did. It was just madness. But he played in like all his best teams, and nobody could work out what he did as a player. So every manager has a soft spot for players, you know.
So that probably moves us nicely on to the Player of the Year, right? So the Player of the Year got announced last week. We need to bring this up. The Player of the Year candidates, then, just to pick out the 5 of them. So we have Václav Černý, Cyril Dessers was one of the 5, Mohamed Diamande, Nicholas Raskin, and John Stewart. So they're the 5. And just because Nicholas has asked a question of you, Ricky, and because Raskin is one of the people in the Player of the Year candidates, I think the wee question is there. He's good at 2-yard passes to player side. What do you see in him that makes him a Player of the Year candidate?
Well, I didn't pick the Player of the Year candidate, so I don't know what you're blaming me for. You just came back from the wilderness and you're straight out with a bazooka to me. But I love Raskin as a player. I don't see what Nicholas, the guy played for Belgium recently and got man of the match in the number 6 position and got a standing ovation when he left the park. So if you don't see a player in Raskin, we're all different. We all have different opinions, but believe me, Nicholas, we have 24 bigger problems in our squad than Nicholas Raskin, that's for sure. For me, if Raskin, he has to sign a new deal. There's no way he just does small passes. He dominates football matches when he wants. He can be absolutely, he's a dynamic, very feisty little midfielder who's key. Our best for him is when Raskin is on for him in that midfield, and he's best in the number 6 position. So I don't see what Nicholas is on about there. We've got plenty of other players for me that we need to worry about before Nicholas Raskin. But it is an interesting question from the point of view. Kerr spoke about it earlier. He has to sign a new contract. If he doesn't sign a new contract, he can't start next season. If he starts next season at Rangers, then you have to ask yourself what is going on with this new director of football with Patrick Stewart, because you can't keep players of his value going into the last year of their deal. Like, you're just losing so much money, and that's been a massive downfall of our football club. I think he's keen to sign a new deal, and a player like Raskin does deserve 20 grand a week. It's the other players that are injured all the time for me that don't deserve. But if you're giving Raskin 20, 25k a week, I have no problem with that, because he's proved his fitness and he's been one of our mainstays. He's one of our most important players. So I have no problem with giving Raskin a new deal on 25k a week.
And Scott, I'm not going to ask you much about Raskin, so we'll look at 10 minutes left of the pod, and you'd be on for ages. But I suppose my question to you is, so picking those players, as I said, Dessers, Černý, Dio, Raskin, Suter. Now, Dio and Dessers have both been criticised. Dessers more than MD, but Dio's also been criticised for not having a great season at times. The fact that those 5 are the Player of the Year candidates maybe sum up how bad our season has been. And the second question is, if you rank them in order, then 1 to 5 of those 5, how would you rank them? Because I'm assuming we're all going Černý probably for the top.
I'd actually say Raskin's done really well this season. Černy's done really well, especially on a loan player. Because some ones you bring in, they don't do well enough, you end up sending them back, they don't play many games. Tierney's come in and done really well. So it's between Tierney and Raskin for me. Suter's been a hit and miss at times because he's been injured, and then he does well, then he makes mistakes, but listen, all positive mistakes in them. So I'd probably say Suter is third, Dio fourth, and Dessers. Dio frustrates me because I can see the talent he has and I can see what he offers, but he's not consistent enough with it for me. And I think Ricky always brings up his stamina after he gets subbed after 65, 70 minutes. That could be an issue, but I think Dio's got so much potential now. He's been here a few seasons, but you can still see it there. He's a very clever footballer, but he has to do it more. And I don't know, maybe change the way he plays or change the way we play. But I think him and Rasin are starting to get more understanding. So it would be a shame to maybe break that up, but I do think he needs somebody else in there. I think when Rice was there, it helped both of them. Raskin, I know Nicholas mentioned Raskin, but he does a lot of things nobody else wants to do in the team. He cleans up a lot, he just nicks the ball away and gives it to others to make them play. He doesn't do anything difficult, he's in there to stop the other team playing at the one challenges, give a ball to other players like Tierney, like Dio, and let's get it forward. He's come up with one goal, he tries to get it forward, but he does enough for me, especially when he was injured and he came back in to say that he's done enough. I mean, Robert said Dio has been put out of position. I still don't know his best position, Gary Dio, but I don't know if he's as a 10. Does he play out on the left? Is he more?
I think he's number 8 personally. He's a lot of energy around the park. I think as much.
I think he plays better middle to front than he does when he's further back. I don't know about you. I think when he's further back, it's when he maybe takes a couple of touches and he loses the ball, especially in the league. In Europe, can get away with that because teams don't push up as much. But in domestic games, teams are kind of on you, aren't they? Because that's the way the managers are told to play against us. But in Europe, he does that, and then he starts to film his legs and he's off skate, so he looks really good in Europe. So I'll go with Raskin or Tierney for player of the year, but Suter, Dio, and Dessers. Listen, Dessers has had the goals for us this season, but he's also had a lot of misses, but as strikers as well. But like you said, Gary, the season we've had, and especially domestically, it's quite hard to pick somebody who's been really good consistently throughout the season domestically.
So, Ricky, coming to you, similar question, I suppose. So, you've got those 5 players that are named, and obviously you're going to have Dessers as number 1, but we'll come back to that in a moment. So, is it 1, your top 5, 2, is there somebody in there that's not there that should be there in that top 5 to replace Dessers potentially for you?
No chance. And Dio and Dessers should never be. How can they be in that list? How can Diamande? No, you can't have a top 5. It's impossible. But how can Diamande be in that list the way he's played in Scotland? He got embarrassed. Every away game, like we're losing, we're 2-0 down in every game. He loses the ball in midfield. He's all over the shop. And then he played against... in Europe, he's a complete different player. In Europe, he looks like Glenn Kamara. And in Scotland, he looks like Ian Black. And that's just a fact. And that you can't have him. I'm not being cheeky, but you can't have it. And Dessers... Listen, if Dessers played, but he has purple patches, right? The start of the season... He was banging in goals. He went through a period, and then he has. There's two as lulls. I hope that came out right. His poor periods are too long. You know, he goes through brilliant periods where he's unplayable. That time he goal against Man United, and he was playing that. When he's that striker, he's incredible. But the problem with the guy is the seesaw. The seesaw is just too big, and he goes through periods like he is just now, where it's like he doesn't even know how to be a striker. So for me, and that's no offence to they two, right? They cannot be in a conversation for player of the year. It's absolutely ridiculous. So the 3 players, John Suter, I understand that because he has had a really good season, and we needed someone to step up after Connor Goldson left. And Goldson did leave a huge hole in the squad. He was a big character. He was that leader that Gerrard brought in, and Goldson again was a little bit up and down. But Suter they were huge shoes to fill. And I think, okay, little periods where he was injured, but I can understand Suter as number 3. For me, I would have Raskin as number 2 because, again, with Raskin, he was injured at the start. He got back into the team, and he, again, went through a 3-month period where he was brilliant against Celtic. In the cup final, he was very, very good. And then he had a little bit of a lull again, and then he picked up his form again. So for Raskin, number 2, no problem. And Tierney, for me, is definitely player of the season. just because he's able to win your match on his own. Our great European run, Czerny was the man for all the great stuff we did in Europe when we were smashing teams. For a lone player, out of all the lone players we've had the last few years, there's a lot of hype with Sima, Tillman, and they are really good players. They were really good players, but Czerny is one that I would love to see us keep and be able to keep at Ibrox next season. So for me, and I know fans can say, well, he does get games, but wingers are always like that. The best wingers in the world, Vicious Jr. or Vinny Jr., whatever you call him, he's going through a bit of a dodgy, like with Real Madrid, wingers that even at the best clubs go through periods where they're hot and cold and stuff like that. So player of the year for me, if I was the man that was giving them it, would be Czerny. But 3 players on a 5-man list for me, you kind of have. There's no other player that deserves to be on that list. No chance. Young player of the year, I would say.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm going to come at you. I'm going to start with you for young player because I like this. So we've got the young player options: Igaman, Barron, and Jeffy. So I thought I'd let you say your thoughts on that.
Are you joking me? There is no way Jeffy is on that list.
I didn't make up, Scott, did I? It's true. Have you seen it? It's a true story.
As Rangers must be absolutely pissed, the people that are picking that list, man. How can Jeffy is on that list for young player of the year? Are you having a laugh, man? That is absolutely.
The box of straws.
That is insane, man. What about Rasin, Curtis, who actually broke into the first team and have managed to stay in squads? And but for me, I mean, that's nonsense. And Barron again, how can Barron be on any list for player of the year? He's been decent. He's had a decent first season. And Barron, if you're being like objective about Barron, he's been for a free transfer from Aberdeen. It's very difficult to come in at Rangers, and he started really, really well, and then he tailed off a lot, and he struggled to get back in the team, and that's the way it should be, because when Raskin and Diamande came into the team and Raskin was in the 6, they brought extra quality to our midfield. Now Barron has struggled to get back in, and even now with us moving forward next season, I think Barron is a good option for 20 games a season when you need to get back from European games and you need to rest some midfielders, and you say, right, Raskin, you have a little break here. There's Barron. Put Barron in. You're going to play this game and things like that. I can't see Barron being good enough to push himself into a title-winning Rangers team, and that's okay because we need squad players as well. But the only player for us for a young player of the year is Igaman, and as I just said, what we've did to that kid since Christmas is absolutely, only Rangers can find a talent like Igaman and the rawness of him, the power, and we should be playing him every single match to get that, like to advance the kid, you know. And what do? We play serial dessers and keep Igaman on the bench. Honestly, God give me strength. So for me, Igaman, young player of the year, no competition. And well done to him as well. And I hope we can keep on him. I don't want to sell him unless we get silly money. I would love to see him as our number 9 next season, because I think he has the talent to really be a great number 9 for Rangers. But you've got to play him all the time. You can't keep taking him out of the team and putting him left wing and number 10. And he's a striker. He's a number 9. Play him as a number 9.
Scott, I'm presuming you've not got any. Well, you might have picked Jeffy for all I know. But again, Jeffy, Barron, Igaman, I'm presuming Igaman's the one that's probably done the most for you. Hefty started off with about the world and slowly declined week on week to the point now whereby it kind of keeps you away the ball if we can best do it.
Listen, Conor Barron's done okay. He's done really well when he first came through. He kind of levelled off, but he's done okay. When he's been called upon, he's not really let us down. He's struggled in certain games, but a lot of players have. And I think he's still a good addition to the squad. And I think next season he'll get better for it just because of the season he's had. But it has to be Igaman since he's come in. We didn't know what to expect from him. He's come in, he's got that X factor, isn't he? We were all looking for in players. Granted, it's not consistent enough, but I think if we can keep him and we keep playing him, we will get better. And we all make money on him, Gary. That's probably the thing they want to do, is obviously the pure trading thing. I think we will make a lot of money on him. But you can see he's got a wee bit of quality we lack at times. But there's certain things, he's still a bit raw, isn't he, round about some of his games. So more game time he gets, hopefully he can polish that off and he improves, because I think there's a good player there, a very good player.
So my last question tonight then, so we've talked about the Player of the Year contenders, of which are only 3 Player of the Year contenders according to Ricky, and Young Player of the Year, which are only 1 contender. But I suppose my final question was, the biggest disappointment of the year. Do you know, at the start of the season you thought, you know, with high hopes for them, they could make a difference, that could be this, not necessarily a new signing, it could be somebody who's there already, but Ricky, who's been your biggest disappointment as a player this season?
Oh, it's a very, very good question, because there's probably about 15 of them. We'll do another hour, mate. We'll do another hour. But no, I'm going to be honest, and I speak about it all the time, mate. And the biggest disappointment for me, and fans will be like, what are you talking about? But it's the injured players, the players that are injured all the time. Sterling, Balogun, Danilo probably the biggest. 6 million we paid for him, and we've got Yilmaz. I mean, these players, there's all the injured players for me, right? That we know that if we keep for next season, they'll get into the team and they're good players. I mean, these are all good players. They could, if these guys could stay fit, it would be Dessers for sure, man. But Dessers is another story, man. That's beyond the disappointment, Dessers. But the players that are injured all the time, what I always say about Dessers, Tavernier, all these players, at least they're fit. And I would take a shit player that is fit all the time, that at least can contribute over a season, than a guy that misses. You're playing 60 matches and a guy misses 45 matches. What good is that? And you know he's going to break down, and you can't rely on him. So for me, the biggest disappointment is still these 6 players that are injured all the time. And Danilo would be, if you had to say one, Danilo would be, because we keep thinking, okay, if we get him fit, if we do this, if we do that, and it's again, he gets into the team, he gets injured, gets in, gets injured, gets in, gets injured, and that you can't build a title-winning team with 6 players that are always injured all the time. It's impossible.
Same question you, Scott. So, and can't pick the injured players. You've got to pick something different, right?
I'd probably just say 2 things, Gary. I'd probably say one would be Clement. At the start of the season, I thought he came in last season and done relatively well. We were close at the end, and maybe a couple of decisions weren't great near the end of the season, but you thought he just came through the door, he's still learning, but he turned it into if he came in, if we were near the season finished, we were challenging. We thought he could turn this around for us, but this season was just a bin fire with him, do you know what I mean? It just seemed to get worse and worse and worse every game, every month, and he's telling us all different fairy tales about players can't play when they sign because they're still building furniture and stuff like that. So that's probably one of them. Another one is, I'd probably say Danilo. For what he paid for him, I was expecting a lot more. I know it's not his fault to get injured, he had a bad injury, a couple of injuries, but we as a club can't afford to outlay on players constantly, because that's just where we were at that time. So that's a lot of money for us. So we were expecting a lot back, and at this moment in time, I'd probably say Cortez to a point, but him, I don't know if we're going to make any money back in the boy, because he doesn't look like he's near the level we need, and he also doesn't look fit, and I don't know what's going to happen with him, but he's a big disappointment for me.
Paul's put a comment here. There's a lot of people saying Paul's put a comment, Danilo's a penalty box striker. I don't know how you know that. I've watched him for 2 seasons and I don't really know what he is as a player in any way. Do you know? And there's one of the things, I think he's probably one of the players that actually he's been fit longer than you actually realise at times. I know he's had a number of injuries, but he's probably been fitter more often than Sterling has. It just doesn't get a game because presumably, certainly since Ferguson came in, he's not seen anything in him that makes him want to play him. As you say, for £6 million, I still don't know what he does. I think he finishes no great. He's not.
Look at him, Gary. Look at him at Pataudry, though, man. I mean, did that look like? Let's be honest. Danilo, Cortez, and who was the other one that was out on the right? I mean, did they look interested? It was absolutely shocking. And there's a big game. There's your chance, guys. Show what we can do. You've got a semi-final coming up, and honestly, I mean, you saw young Curtis. He put them all to shame. Like, you know, what effort looks like, and. Is that what you want at your club? Is that players that are you're going to go to the trenches and are going to care about winning trophies? You're miles away from winning trophies when you've got players like that in your squad. And he's on huge money. 6 million was signed for him, paid for him Absolute madness. Ridvan as well. Players like Ridvan, huge. If we can get rid of him to Turkey, then we need to move forward with players that are contributing and are fit all the time. I saw Scotty in the comments about young Penrice saying he's ex-Livy player. Man, Penrice has been outstanding. He's in Team of the Year in Scotland. Takes free kicks. Unbelievable delivery. He's like Tavernier on the left for Hearts. He's a brilliant young player. Madness to be turning our noses up at young players like that. I know he's 26, so no young, but players like that in Scotland, that's much better than the crap that we always keep going abroad and spending fortunes on players that we think because they've got fancy names. And right in front of us in Scotland are players that can do it in this league that you would be better investing in.
Yeah, I really think the big Penrice, I wouldn't necessarily think he's a first choice, but it's the days of Alex Cleland and Gary Bowen and guys like that were part of squads that allowed you to then build a team. I think that probably brings us to the end of the show tonight. So just a couple of things. Scott, live show, you want to tell everybody when the live show is again, just when you're not mute, probably do it when you're not mute. People can hear you better that way.
I'd probably better talking on mute. I think Aldo's mentioned it a few times, the live show on the 16th of May in Oswald's. If anybody wants to come, you can follow the link and buy a ticket or get in touch with us, and we can even try and put some tickets aside or meet up and give you a ticket over the face-to-face, whatever. So it's entirely up to yourself, but it will be a good night. It's obviously a fundraiser, but it's also our live podcast, our very first one. So hopefully it's a success and we can maybe do more. So I'm looking forward to it. I know Gary is, Ross, I think Ross, Davey, and I don't know if Scotty's coming up, but I think maybe GD will be there as well. So it's good. Rick will be there in spirit, just knowing human for him because he's too far away. But
and the idea
he'll be there. He'll send us a satellite signal somewhere.
Next one.
16th of May in Oslo. If you want to come, like you click on the link and get tickets for a good cause, and also we get to meet you and you can get to meet us.
And I suppose just a couple of other things. Obviously, I will say like, share, and subscribe as you can. There's been a lot of comments about Alexander and his wife, so again from everybody at the pod. So we should wish you well as well. Hope everything's okay. And finally, is David and Ross on tomorrow night? As far as we're aware, the show returns.
As far as I'm aware, I'm on. I've been really busy, Gary. I'm even in the chat putting links up for anything. I've just been that busy the last few days. So I'm hoping they're on tomorrow night because it's a good show. They two are on together, get a bit of crack, and they rub each other up the right way and they bounce off each other. So, and what Ross and Davey says, gospel, as they say. So, no, if you're on tomorrow night, give them a listen because it's really good to listen to them.
Yeah. So on that note, end of the pod for tonight. So thanks for everybody for tuning in. Enjoy your week, and we should be back on Friday night. Take care now. Bye.